location like Kenya is the issue of data. So you'll notice most of the global players are in Nairobi, are in Kenya, and they're doing amazing things, trying to understand how AI can be deployed across multiple use cases. As Akili AI, we had begun having a conversation at ACTS at the level of the Governing Council. From about 2 years ago, what's the future we desire? We chose to move to Konza as a future home of arts, obviously maintaining a presence in Nairobi. And in the process of having that conversation, the Gen AI innovation kicked in. And we asked ourselves, can we combine Konza and this new technology, Gen AI? Can we think of technology foresighting? And also as an organization, can we think of corporate foresighting? I'm delighted to say Kenya is the preferred location. We have a presence in Cambridge, Nigeria, and South Africa. But Kenya has been that place where we've decided we want to get started because of that competitive advantage in data. And I think everything else the panelists have been saying, issues around talent, issues around data centers, the technology, issues around capability in production, manufacturing, legal, and also large players like Safaricom, or even that perspective of carrying everybody along. When I get a chance, it'll take me just very briefly, but at least I've been able to share that bigger picture.
Yeah, but Martin, if I get your point clearly,
absolutely.
I mean, to me it sounds like, AI of course is a magic story. Don't you think it will have a negative impact on job creation and general employment within our country if we've got too much AI?
Yes. No, not at all. Actually, but immediately they have the slides up. If you don't mind, I'll pack that question. So from a perspective of conventional AI, people argue machines will come in, take over the bank teller's job, take over jobs maybe for those human call centers.
Yes.
On the contrary, we rethink our talent, and Kenya is blessed with amazing talent.
Right.
If we approach it as taking the mundane, boring tasks away from the human and let AI run with that, and then the more creative, the more engaging aspects that our mind, we have to think in abstract ways, we have to think in creative ways.
Right.
We free the talent to do that. Then we're not taking jobs, we're actually creating jobs. And I think those are the experiments at ACTS with partners. Akili AI has signed an MOU with iLab, where I'm based at Strathmore. And these are the creative things we want to experiment with and figure out how do we scale them, not only in a Kenyan context, but in an African context. So conventionally, yes, it'll take jobs, but if you think a little deeper and particularly think of Gen AI, there are massive opportunities.
No, I think it's really important for AI to convince us so that SNARE's projects and of course it can sort of emerge and produce and give more to the society than that. Thank you. Now, tell us a little bit, what do you think about the digital economy in Kenya compared to the rest of the world?
I'm going to be a bit biased, but I tend to think the digital economy is both driven by the experts and the youth as well. If we're not empowering the youth, then we are not going to advance technologically as fast as we would have loved to. For me, I envision Kenya in a very different way. My vision of Kenya is ideally in touch with Internet of Everything. Everything is M2M kind of communication. So machine to machine. Yeah. I see Nairobi specifically as a smart city. I see Kenya as a really, in terms of advancement, really advanced. And so in that case, we also have to bridge that digital divide. Because we can't just say people who've gone to school or we've marginalized some people down in the rural areas. So those people also need to be uplifted. They need to be included in this agenda that we're speaking about. Yeah. And so for me, it's all about, can we empower the youth to at least bridge that digital divide? Because that divide is quite big. And if we want to achieve the goal of advancing the digital economy, then it's going to be driven by all the young people as well as the experts.
It sounds interesting, and I'm quite interested in that. But as a young Kenyan, what advice do you give? Because I can hear you're a software engineer, you understand the ICT. What advice do you give to these young Kenyans who have got interest in ICT, especially software development?
I think we just start. The beauty about technology is that you don't have to go to school for it. You can use YouTube, you can Google, you can get videos that you can store on your flash disk and just go back to following the tutorials. So I would say we have software engineers from all different backgrounds. You don't have to be a computer scientist or an electrical engineer to pursue tech. As long as you are passionate about it and you are showing a promising future, you will be employed in the biggest spaces. And I want to give an example of a fisherman who actually currently works for Microsoft. So this is someone who has been empowered enough to work and contribute on a global scale. And that's what I'm speaking of. We need more involvement in the ICT hubs. We need more seriousness in the programs that we offer, and also generally give these courses, I wouldn't say for free, but for us to actually bring those people up, then it means that we have to be selfless enough to offer these programs to people who cannot afford them. Yeah.
Thank you. From a lawyer's perspective, I do understand that, of course, your words ICT. How has ICT or general IT impacted on your services so that you can have easy access to your clients and other government services?
Of course, I think IT is now available for almost every business. But to answer your question, I'll just focus on what the government has done, and I'll share my experience as a practitioner in relation to the opportunities and the involvement of government services in IT. Many people don't seem to understand this, but right now, if you are looking for licenses, many government institutions have an IT-enabled process that enables you to just log in, have your account, keep following up, and even the service providers will tell you for approvals, construction approvals. Many of those authorities now are IT, they offer services using IT. So we don't have those many queues that we used to have in those offices. You can just do the applications online because the government is investing in the digital, what they call the digital economy. As a practitioner, even land, in Nairobi, all the land is now mapped properly, and we are required to transact everything online on a system they're calling Ardhi, which is an IT-enabled system. Yes, we have challenges in embracing that because sometimes there is still the human experience that is involved in it, which is also necessary. I'm not saying the human intervention is bad, but it's quite good and can be quite efficient if we continue to support it and to follow through on that whole digital economy agenda. As far as setting up your businesses are concerned, when I started my practice 15 years ago, it was very difficult. You want to file returns or you want to file anything on your company at the company's registry, believe you would need to get somebody to go and physically find a file. In 2015, we adopted a digital registry system. It has been operating quite efficiently. If there are other lawyers here, they'll tell you the easiest registry to navigate right now is the business registration registry, which has really complemented our services, and it just goes to show there is a lot of opportunity, because as we adopt the digital economy, the opportunities that are now looking up, we need data protection, encryption services, how to protect these IT-enabled services that we are all now embracing. I think that there is a very big opportunity on that, not only for government, but even for firms like us, just it becoming a big issue. Data protection, we now have a data protection office that was established. We started working in earnest, I think, about 2 years ago. We are starting to have new problems that are emerging. For example, as we embrace AI, I'm also a student of philosophy and ethics. There are issues that are coming up. Somebody would because the system teaches teaches itself on how to judge you. How there are ethical considerations that are also coming up that people need to look to. So there's a lot of opportunity. We are seeing people doing smart farming, using IT to just predict the weather, the soil, and everything, and just get it right. And based on everything that we've been talking about in this conference, I think if you're an investor, you're willing to invest in IT, there's a lot of opportunity in Kenya for that.
Right. You sound very, very much conversant with ICT in general. Now, can you just expand with some of the challenges you face as a business running in Kenya? You know, some of the challenges you face in terms of ICT.
Of course, one of the biggest challenges that I think we face is in relation to security. I think there was a time when we could not be able to access BRS for I think about a week or so because they said there was some form of an attack. So yes, though there are risks and big risks, and when those risks rear their faces, then it becomes a challenge. But also because government sometimes is slow, so when we need the human experience in accessing these services, sometimes it can be challenging because it's time, mainly loss of time when there is something wrong. That has been my biggest challenge. Even in courts nowadays, you know, we don't have to physically attend court. We attend court online. When you file your case, all the documents are there. There is nothing like your file is missing or your file hasn't been brought to a judge. You will just have the judge open your file. It's there. Go to this system. Look at this. I filed. Right. So it has really, it is really changing the space for practice for us in a positive way. But yes, right. There are challenges when we have the services out.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, we all know now that there's a big challenge in cybersecurity. A lot is happening. Sometimes a back going on, ICT, or this entire system collapses. Someone like, Maurice, your manufacturer, how do you deal with cybersecurity? How do you use general attacks that comes from the programs that are known, which are sent by known people? How do you deal with that?
Okay, so with hardware, they are because all the hardware that we design, we follow like standard international protocol in terms of securing the devices. So one of the things that we do is end-to-end encryption, whereby any information that you send from your device has to be decoded by a unique key from the other side. So in case someone intercepts in between, you will get information, but then there's no way of them like decoding that information to be able to understand what particularly that device was sending. And then again, when it comes to that, it's as well like a learning curve. You have to be very fast in terms of response. You have to be in real time monitoring your system so that when you get a challenge, very fast you're able to act on that and be able to if there's like any security breach, you patch and learn from that and then put protocols so that particular incident doesn't happen again.
Mr. Maya, what would you say about that? I know the AI development, I know you probably come across such.
Yes, I have. I've been informed the slides are not able to go up, so it's okay, I'll share and then those can be distributed later. So from a perspective of security, I think I'd like to engage from the perspective of law, policy, and from the perspective of technology. So it's Josephine. So from what Josephine shared, Kenya has one of the more competitive policy regimes. We have a data commissioner, and earlier this year, around July, we hosted Madam Kasait along with actors from banking, financial services sector, and actors from the Compliance Society of Kenya. Had a fascinating half-day event where the issue of data compliance kicked in. The legal side was easy for me to understand the technical aspects, issues of cybersecurity as they deal with lower levels of the stack. I think that was more difficult. What I can reflect in the context of Kenya is we've got the most competitive technologies being deployed. We've got talent that is able to pick those technologies and customize them for the local market. And I think our policymakers are also trying to stay ahead of the curve to make sure that where punitive action is required, that is possible, but without getting too much in the way of innovation. A second perspective I'd pick is, as Akili AI, we have chosen to experiment in the context of financial services. We've had about 2 or 3 rounds of engagements, particularly with banks. And you think of the issue of security twofold. So you have the IT expert who's in Sneha's world, and I think he's thinking about issues of what's the best technology we need to buy. But increasingly, this is also a board level conversation. So you need the C-suite, the CEO, and whoever is designated to handle risk, whoever is designated to handle the commercial aspects and technology, actually sitting together and trying to figure out what do we budget, what do we take to the board, how do we make transformation within our organization a priority, because compliance actors will tell you risk is not only the type of technology you have in place, it's the culture, it's the practices. And those aspects as Akili AI, we've also tried to figure out how do we experiment and explore, so that as the hardware is moving ahead, there's somebody holding the hands of actors and can move along with them from a policy perspective and what that means in terms of daily practice.
Right, thank you. What would you say, a software developer, what would you say, please?
I would say I lean more towards software and hardware. So generally, I also do take part in the whole aspect of what Maurice does in terms of IoT. I would say cybersecurity majorly in the field that I practice is quite low. There's usually very minimal cybersecurity breaches, but if ever one happens, then it would be quite catastrophic, if we say that. Yeah, and as you said, our work is quite low risk in terms of cybersecurity, because again, there's quite a lot of protocols. There's acknowledgement protocols on both ends with specific keys of encryption and decryption. So if you are ever even to attempt, there's no way you're going to get that information.
Right.
Yeah.
No, thank you. What did you say about cybersecurity? Because I know.
Yeah, so a few things here. So first of all, talk about our training that we do at Moringa. So our flagship has been on software engineering and data science, and we've seen actually over the last couple of years there's a growing demand for training in cybersecurity, and we're actually doing that. Also, talking about data protection, and here we're becoming responsible. We're leading the pack with the Office of Data Protection. I'm really proud to say that Moringa School, together with my data center, IX Africa, we were the first people to run a training for data protection officers in Kenya. So, if you're part of a corporate or a bank, like you have your security officers, there's a need to train people on data protection, and actually we're running that training actually with an expert who is from the UK but based here locally. And then from a data center point of view, we also take security very, very seriously, right from physical security to cyber security as well. So if we are hosting servers here, again, they're in an environment which is actually world class. So our data center is certified for ISO 27001, which is covering the IT security. And then the last thing I would say is, what Josephine touched on in terms of, loss of productivity, loss of downtime. Again, we should be really proud in Kenya that around 18,000 of our services from government are now, digitized. But from a customer point of view, when you try and access that, we've seen times when it's very slow. We've had the attacks, etc. And my question is, all those services, where are they currently being hosted? And I think also with the government, I would encourage them to walk the talk, because if those services are currently held on the cloud outside, that comes with its own customer experience and the risks. And we have the capabilities, we have the facilities to actually do all that in-house to keep the data sovereignty So these are opportunities for us to really get to the next level.
Fantastic. Now, this is just as we just about to round up the panel for this afternoon. This is very specific to you, Daniel. How do you like to see the private sector sort of collaborating with the government to improve the digital infrastructure?
Thank you so much. One, I think, is acceptability and adaptability of private sector solutions, because that has been one of the biggest challenges that we face. I'll give an example of our ERP solution. You'll get that most governments are more restricted to kind of solutions that they require rather than outsourcing from local players. They always look for SAP or Microsoft, which are big players, yet there are other solutions that are developed here. So if the government can be able to accept and adapt them. In Kenya, we have good local talent that have developed good solutions, will improve in a great way. Number two, I think, is also access to data center. One of the costs that most private players incur at a higher extent is hosting services. And yet, government has their own data centers like ICTA and Konza. Though Konza is more of a private-public partnership. But they can be able to create a way where private sectors can be able to onboard onto those hosting services.
Right. Thank you. MC, do we have time for questions? Because I know there could be a burning question, maybe one or two. Is there any? Yeah, I'll probably take just two, please, because I know a serious lunch is waiting for us outside. So, can we have one or two questions, please? I think there's one here, another one there. I'll take three max.
Thank you. I am a reseller partner for a UK company that has a compliance software, and there's recently a big push to transition people from on-premise to cloud. So my question, perhaps to Kibet, are organizations thinking about a B2B engagement, are they ready now to commit to cloud and hosting, and do we have the necessary infrastructure to provide the availability and reliability needed for an enterprise application? Thank you.
Next question, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Robert Manyala from Research Limited, where we make people tech fit. We do point of sale and we make people trend on Twitter for good reason. Now, the question I want to ask is that we have a challenge in uptake of technology in Kenya, and the main challenge is that there's no education. For example, we realize somebody make losses every day, but they know they cannot get a bookkeeping system, and sometimes they say it is cheap or expensive. So what can you do to ensure that business owners are educated on how to use technology to do their business easier, faster, and more effective way, so that they can stop making losses and we can create job opportunity in a big way? Because when you use technology, people can be able to create job and they can make millions of money, and we'll have a job available for Kenyans to use. Thank you so much. Once more, Robert Manyala from Research Limited.
Thanks, Kiro. The final one will be somebody. One last one.
I've heard all this talk about Silicon Savannah and how Kenya is the #1 for startup funding, but I think globally speaking, the main metric that people look for to determine how serious a tech hub is how many billion-dollar startups they've created. So far, Kenya has yet to create its first billion-dollar startup. So let's say over the next 10 years, what's the single most important thing that either the public sector, private sector, or the entrepreneurs themselves can do to help facilitate Kenya's first billion-dollar startup?
Thank you. We start with you, Daniel.
Thank you so much. I'll start with the first question on the B2B. The question was, are the business yet to appreciate or accept the transition to cloud hosting services? Yeah, from experience here, most of the businesses that we have offered solutions, especially ERP and HMIS, they are willing right now to transition to HMIS. And those that are unwilling, they always do the in-server services, and also we do for them the cloud hosting services. In terms of resources and infrastructure, yes, we do have a couple of them. Ones that they do offer the cloud hosting. and dedicated server. iColo they do. Also ICTA, though ICTA is a bit exhausted, but we can do it with iColo and Konza for now. In terms of the matrix, why we have not reached the $1 billion, I think investors mostly look at population. Nigeria, they were able to reach there because of the population. You know, when investing in the market, you look at the return on investment. The population of Nigeria is 200 million, vis-a-vis ours, which is 50 million. Daily usage is 36 million, Nigeria is about 150. So most investors will go to Nigeria. But truth be told, we have good solutions that we can be able to invest and we'll be able to get good returns on investment. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, the second question actually from Robert is about the uptake of technology in Kenya, whereby businesses need to be educated to use more IT. Ayam, what do you think about that?
This is not an ad, but Safaricom has this product called Safaricom Grow, where we have segmented our customers, large businesses, small businesses, and medium businesses. And so there are products that look like a business in a box, yeah, where you have financial software, where you have a bit of HR software. You can literally run your business in that box. And then also, they're usually meetups. Where you can come and interact with the rest of the businesses there. You can get networks and all of that. And lastly, there are specific packages for small and medium businesses. So you find maybe there's just different product offerings. Yeah, if you're dealing in connectivity, there's that bundle for connectivity for small businesses. You get a boost offering that connectivity. If it's mass SMSs, you obviously get your own pricing for that. So I believe we have set up those structures to enable businesses grow. And maybe I can touch base with him after this to make sure he's enrolled in Safaricom Grow.
Great. Anybody gonna comment on that, Mr. Sneh?
Yeah, so maybe just to add, in terms of corporate training, so Moringa, we don't only train like students coming out of high school, but we also train corporates. In fact, Moringa runs the Safaricom Digital Academy, and we have many part-time courses, for example, on data analytics, where we teach SMEs on how to use tools like Power BI, etc., to improve their attention to reporting, etc. We're doing another course on AI productivity for corporates. That's one. In terms of the cloud trends, I think I need to buy my colleague here some lunch, because he mentioned some competitors, but we are the biggest, called IX Africa. And what we're seeing trends actually where companies went to the cloud during COVID, but because of costs, latency, etc., we're seeing reverse migration. And I think Kenya, we have a big opportunity to bring the regional zones, so the cloud here locally. And then lastly, the question about, a very good question about, where are we seeing the unicorns out of this market? And what I would say is, unfortunately, yes, we did attract a lot of funding into this market, but we've seen some blow-ups, companies like Sandy, Copia, etc., who raised like millions of dollars of funding, but then they lost focus, in my opinion, and hence failed. But then there are other, promising companies that we're seeing. One I would mention is a company like Mkopa, which started with solar financing, but now they're very successfully financing smartphones. We could see a company like that soon becoming a unicorn, and we need to see more of those where companies are more adapting to the market. But if you look at like Mkopa, they just announced last week they've financed 5 million smartphones across continents. So I think Kenyans also need to have a vision to really expand. When you compare Africa or Kenya to a market like India, where there's a huge population, we have many unicorns in a place like India, Kenyans need to look at the wider picture and aim for Africa.
Great. Now, thank you so much. We're just going to round it up by giving just 30 seconds each to say just the final word. Please, Alan, start with you. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm a bit shy, but taking up space on this stage is quite a great move for me. But in any case, I just want to wrap it up by telling the young people specifically, because I'm really passionate about that. The world is your oyster, and go for every opportunity. Personally, I have approached people, and I haven't received a no yet. I always receive, yeah, we'll see, or come pitch to me. We'll see where we can get. And so this has opened quite a lot of doors for me, and that's what I want to tell the youth, that you have to go ahead and get these opportunities. As much as, yes, opportunities will be brought to you, it's a matter of your attitude as well. How do you go out there and get these opportunities, start those businesses, reach out to people on LinkedIn. And I do believe that the digital economy also includes the creative economy. The two of them are intertwined. And the sooner we actually accept that part of the digital space within Kenya includes social media usage. So in that case, there's quite a lot that young people can do to enable themselves and get ahead of the curve. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Martin, please.
My closing thought targets two sets of individuals in the audience, the investors, because this is a trade mission, and the second one is the C-suite and the board level. Whether or not you're in C-suite or board level, you can engage at that level. And my message is threefold. Number one, from a Kenyan context, for the policymakers in the room, could we have the best policy regime in order to advance technology? Could we adopt technology foresighting, specifically in the area of artificial intelligence, so that globally, from a perspective of data, everybody chooses to come to Kenya? We had the High Commissioner, His Excellency Neil Wigan at Strathmore in March. He was talking about grey listing, but the conversation was overtaken by AI because His Majesty the King Charles had already spoken about that at a global level, the Bletchley Agreement. Number two, we sit on the Governing Council of Acts, and particularly for the question around SMEs, could we establish and forge linkages so that the cutting-edge technologies globally are made available at very low cost at the most basic level of society? M-Pesa did it. M-Pesa has links to the UK. I'm sure there's some interesting technology hiding in plain sight. And then number three, as Akili AI, if anything I have said today in the absence of my slides has touched your heart, I have my cards here, walk up to me, or we have a link, akili-ai.com. Link in there, click there, link in there, and just send a message, we'll reach out to you. I sense we are innovating something unique, and who knows, it might be the £1 billion or $1 billion unicorn we are talking about. And by strengthening Akili, we will strengthen us. That's a majority shareholder. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Maurice, please.
Thank you so much. So for me, I think I'll just make a comment on two things. So number one is more towards the government in terms of creating conducive environment in terms of manufacturing. Because for me, if I see someone having a smartphone, having a power bank, having a charger, screen protector, all these things are important. And for me, when you just look at that, I feel it's a job opportunity for Kenya that was exported. At this era where we have AI, we have all these fancy technology, we even import cables to charge our phones. So it might not feel like it's a big thing, but then it really affects in terms of job opportunities for our young people, because every year we have engineers that are graduating from our technical institutions, from universities, but then where are these engineers going? If you watch news, I think every week you'll see someone carrying a placard saying, I have this degree and I don't have a job, simply because we, in terms of the government has to play a role in terms of, because you see, like in China, right now, there's no Facebook in China. They have their own Facebook. They have their own Google. They have their. So you see, that encourages people to be able to like create employment in terms of making sure that if I'm producing telematics devices today, if I can produce laptops, if I can produce a power bank, there's no reason for us to be able to import these things. Secondly, to education institutions, I think the Ministry of Education has to be very fast in terms of looking what is training, what because if you look at our syllabus today, and I'm happy that it was at some time it was changed to CBC, but I think that change is very, very slow. Because right now we have generative AI, like a lot of things are changing, but then we are still training students to be able to finish or complete their degrees to go out and look for jobs in terms of training them to be able to create jobs. Personally, I'm a high school graduate. I never went to the university, but I design software, hardware, firmware. So I think the government has a big role to play in terms of even Ministry of Education to be able to very fast look at what is outside here, be able to very fast change the curriculum and be able to train the young people. Because right now, even a 3-4 years old kid is able to use a smartphone. Yes. While when you are that age, so we have to be fast. And I'm happy that what Muringa is doing, because right now you can become a software engineer even if you never graduated from high school. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Justin, please, very quickly, please.
On the issue of the growth of IT in this country, the only thing I'd like to talk about as a parting shot is there are many solutions, but there is need for capacity development for the users, of course, but also within government. One of the challenges that we have seen is that because IT and these solutions keep changing every day and taking new faces every day, we do not have the capacity for people to even understand when you apply for your license, what is this that you're saying you want to do? Because it looks a little bit complex, and that sometimes just takes away the business because somebody feels they're not able to get a license, or you start your business and you're trying to tell the government, I am not regulated because what I am doing is not that which you think I am doing. It becomes very murky. So there is need for continued conversations, especially with sector players, so that people can understand, and in understanding they create the space for more growth and more penetration.
Amazing, thank you. Snell, please.
Parting shot, I'll be personal. I'm 4th generation here in Kenya. I had a blip stint in the UK, but I'm back now. And I think Kenya is the center of the universe, literally, because we're on the equator, we're also in the middle. And there's lots of good things, if you look at what is happening around us. And Kenya has had its ups and downs, but overall, we're very, very progressive. Which other country do you have a democracy where the leader of the country is held to account by the youth, by the Gen Z, and is addressing them using tech on Twitter Spaces and answerable to the population? And many good things happening here. I mean, you also heard about SpaceX and Elon Musk also coming to revolutionize using satellite in Africa. So watch this space.
Thank you. Daniel, finally.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I think what I can say is Kenya, yes, is the Silicon Savannah. Why the regulatory framework is ideal for everyone to come and invest. The opportunities are there from government to private, and also there is plenty of talent and human resource that is able and willing to develop solutions for our country, for the globe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can see clearly that there is Kenya is emerging strongly in innovation, creativity, and above all using technology. Let's embrace this and let's use the skills and the talent on this panel today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to give them a warm Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam, as well coordinated, and panelists. Asante sana for your time. I think we'll take our group photo. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll just release you in under 10 minutes. So if we could just seek your indulgence, please. Panelists, please, can you stand for a photo? I will invite on stage Irfan Shahid as the photo session is ongoing. Irfan will speak, and Mary will break for lunch. And I'll make an announcement about the afternoon panelists. If you're here and you're part of the afternoon panelists, kindly let's have a meet before we break. One final round of applause, please, to the ICT panel. It's quite interesting. Thank you very much, Irfan.
My name is Irfan. I am representing Blake Corporate Services. Before I start my speech, I would like to thank all of you to attend this conference, especially Miss Mary. She has invited me all the way from the UK to